Freelance Business Week. We are here, the last but not the least session of the day, here with my friend and colleague Whitney Lubin. We're going to talk about client onboarding today. Whitney has a lot to say on the subject. She's been working as a freelancer and independent business owner for several years now, and I'm very happy to introduce her to today's forum. So, Whitney, I'll let you take it off. Introduce yourself, and we can handle this discussion.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So my name is Whitney Lubin. I'm based in South Florida. And I would say my journey into freelancing has always been a thing for me. Grew up very entrepreneurially. So when I graduated college, in the sense of if I didn't have employment, freelancing was just a natural thing. I would find a gig, something to do. And I based it off the skills that I had. So whether it was, video editing or, branding, I was able to monetize my skills. But my process as a freelancer has definitely evolved. And I'm really glad to be here with Livio to share with you guys what I think are kind of valuable things that now that you've especially if you've been freelancing for a while, things that you should put in place to kind of streamline it and take yourself from being a freelancer to more of a business, something that's scalable and that doesn't require you to be doing all the work all the time, and also lays a really good impression with your clients. Because, the acquisition phase of the funnel, that's all great when you finally close that deal with the client, but they're going to remember you for the experience they have with you once you've acquired them. How is the process? And so I think it's very important as freelancers to be on the journey to being, full businesses, for us to really draft out what that process and map out what that process is going to be for our customers so that we have great experiences that we're providing them.
Yes. So tell me what makes a good experience when it comes to client onboarding?
I think what makes a good experience is actually knowing your client, right? And it's hard when you first enter this space. You're kind of trying to close as many different clients as possible, and so that may make it hard. So I really think freelancers who are the strongest are the ones who have a defined industry or client that they're going after, because that gives them the leeway to imagine what type of questions and what type of obstacles that specific client will usually, encounter. And so now, with that know-how, you can kind of plan out each step of that journey for that client. And what type of questions needs to be asked, what type of resources you need to have on hand available, and so on and so forth. So I really do think a lot of it may be a part of your business planning, part of your freelancing business that you might want to cement that will actually help with having a really, tight onboarding experience. But otherwise, the way I did it was more trial and error. I worked with different types of clients, and with those different types of clients, you might have different onboarding formats for them. And so I finally came to a point where I was just I like this type of client. And so this is going to be the specific onboarding flow that I'm going to follow, because these are the specific industries this is the specific industry I'm targeting, and they more or less all need the very same thing. And so, yeah, I think it's a little bit of research. It's always a little bit of research.
So would you say the first part is doing a little, basically it starts with doing research on your client, right?
Yes, definitely researching
and having a target client persona or
exactly.
a client profile.
Exactly.
And then from there, basically, you can start to begin to the different things that your client might need, and basically, creating a different set of services and an experience for the client to satisfy their business processes.
Exactly, right? And yeah, that's exactly it. Later on, I'm going to share some of my templates and documents that I use for onboarding my clients that has kind of the flow of the type of questions that I asked, which is going to be questions that are all going to be familiar to everyone, especially if you're, because I'm not sure depending on like the type of freelancing you're doing, I'm not going to assume everyone's doing like web development, software development, or anything like that. But there are specific questions that you would ask your client based on your industry and based on their industry. So those are things that you kind of like want to take that the role of your client and map that all out and have it as a written document, not only like a written document for you, but so that you can present it to your client as well as your team, your teammates, or whoever you're partnering up with, so they are aware of what your onboarding experience, what your onboarding process is for your client, especially if you have like a VA or anything like that.
So tell me how. So I think you've alluded to, well, you've alluded to understanding your client profile, and two, having a process in place, right? So take us through a quick journey of what a client onboarding experience could look like, and what are some of the major milestones, and what are some of the major steps that you would take, and what are some of the supporting documentation or information that you might want to include as part of those steps?
Yeah, so depending on like how I encounter the client, so if it's someone that I've been prospecting, that's a different flow than if it's someone who's like recommended to me or who reached out to me. So like if it's someone that I'm let's say prospecting, I would have already done like a review of, let's say, their website, and I would have already documented what I noticed as issues, where there was like broken links or anything like that, SEO. Like I would have already done like that research, and that would have probably been more so part of my acquisition phase, where I present, the things that I've noticed that are wrong and that we might want to address in development. But for the most part, I think the process really starts when I have like that consultation and I start just talking with them about what their vision is for the product that we're building together. And so I have like a set series of questions, and I can always like expand upon the questions, but I have standard questions that I ask every single client, because especially if it's like within that specific domain, they're pretty much needed questions,
right.
Needed answers across the board.
Yeah, so they're the basic questions, so that you can basically get the specifics about the project.
Yeah, and I call that my scheduled consult questionnaire. Like that's the document that I copy and add to every client's new file. Here are their answers, how they responded to what their needs are, what their business looks like, and that's something that I can share with a VA or any new teammate that I add.
So you basically put this into a sort of project charter, or like a centralized, like a new project file. This is the first document in the file.
Yeah, I can actually share my screen and I can show you guys basically my new client folder. And in that new client,
that'd be fantastic. We can see the nitty gritty of what you do every single day.
So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
Let me see.
Let me know when you see it.
Yeah, you should be able to share easily.
Can you see my screen?
Yes. Let me pull it up here on the stream. So let's review. Whoop.
Ooh, that's fancy. That was a lot. So can you see my screen now?
Yes. We see your screen very clearly.
All right, new client, right? You see the new client folder? All right, awesome. So the new client folder basically has everything that I would ever need from the client. And like that first meeting after I've closed them as a client, they've put in their deposit. What I will do is basically let them know what in this folder I need them to complete, right? So one of the first things I will do is have like my scheduled consult with them, so I can understand their business goals and everything about their actual business, their features and all that kind of stuff, their products, everything like that. So that's like one of the first.
So let's go through some of these items, right? Because these items are especially if you want to, like, I don't know if you want to go through the items or if you want to go into the next thing.
Yeah, we can go through it.
Okay. So first we have the website consultation questionnaire. You get the basic information about your business, about the sales cycle, about the product, some of the features on the website, and through this document, you can basically set up the main bits that are going to go into the project.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this includes like just also finding out like who are the points of contact on their side that I need to be aware of. Just it's really fact finding, gathering information, scoping out the project, at least from their perspective.
Okay.
And so this is really the consultation.
So you do your consultation.
Yes. So after the consultation, there's going to be some follow-up meetings. So let's say our brand discovery, where I'm actually going to have them fill this out on their own. Or sometimes I'll do it with them, but it really depends on like what their schedule's like. But because it's already laid out as like a document, like they can freely just answer it without me having to, handhold them. Everything's kind of like self-explanatory. And then this is, again, a document I can go back to and share with my team. Before, I would have just actually done this myself. Like I would have the meeting and I'll fill it out myself. But because we're in like a virtual world, it makes more sense to they have access to it. Just let them know, hey, I can't get to the next step until this form is complete. And so that kind of like lays the foundation, like the expectation that they have a part in the process and the speediness of the process because they have like homework.
Yeah, they have homework. They have to fill out the stuff, and they also have to collaborate with you as a freelancer in order to get the project moving forward, because you can't move forward without those requirements.
Exactly. And next up, like once I have like an idea of what their brand is about, that the in between would be like somewhere where I send them like a wireframe of what I think the project is going to be like. And so at that point, I would have like the website menu, user flow. This is like a follow-up meeting set up, and I would have a presentation where I kind of lay out the stages of the project. And let me see, there should be a calendar here. The calendar might not be showing up in here. I guess I don't want to go into one of my old clients' folders, but usually I have an actual Excel with a calendar, and it breaks in the Excel, it actually breaks the development into like a 3-month development. Is like 3 months. I put it as 90 days by default. And then it kind of like breaks everything down in stages, so I can let them know, hey, we're at this part of development. We've just completed, all the content. You've confirmed all the content pieces, or we've confirmed the wireframes. And so that makes it so that we're all on the same page, and they can always go to that Excel in order to see like, okay, at what point in the 90-day cycle are we at? Are they awaiting me to return something, or is it something on their end? And so it's not actually showing up here. So I probably have to copy it in here. But another thing, I guess I'll go into the project update. So this is.
No, I was going to say this is so that this at this point that the client has already been fully onboarded, right?
So I guess it depends on what you consider fully onboarded, because I consider anytime they're delivering something to me, like it's still part of the onboarding process. Like, so if I still need them to send me graphics, like I still consider that part of the onboarding process. So for me, I think my onboarding goes way later into the process. Yeah, I don't really consider the client like ever finish with onboarding and then it's done. I think onboarding, it goes all the way until I actually deliver the product to them. And maybe that's not like the best way to think about it, but I feel like, I guess if they, as long as they know what all the steps are, I guess that's part of onboarding. But sometimes I think there's just still things that are still left to the end that needs to be onboarded as well.
Right. So you would say that onboarding is the process of engaging the client with your development or service delivery, and the different points at which they need to intersect.
Yeah, and you know what? That might be a better way to phrase it. So there's an onboarding and then there's engagement that I'm measuring. So, but I tend to like let engagement and that onboarding bleed into each other.
Okay, that's actually pretty interesting, because I honestly hadn't thought of, making a difference between onboarding and engagement, right? Engagement when the client actually talks to you, or you talk to the client and then they reply, right? But seeing onboarding, seeing like the different steps of the process as a new bit to onboard the client into, that's something definitely novel to me, because to me it's like I actually onboard the client at the beginning. It's like, to me, onboarding the client and giving them all the expectations happens at the beginning, and then the rest is just re-engaging the client across the process, right? It's not really onboarding per se, but this is an interesting way to look at it, where you're always bringing your client on board with something new every time you re-engage with them.
Exactly. So this is like how I would update the client, and I would let them know like how to expect updates. Okay, so I'll be sending your updates via PowerPoint, and I just have this template ready to kind of update them on a regular basis. And it would be dated, and include any past information that would be necessary. And because it's all templated, again, it's easier to just like share with somebody on the team, or with a partner in order to help.
Yeah, the principle of having everything documented kind of really helps with just communication in general, because you can just hand it off and be like, hey, like, it's right here. You can read it. It also saves you trouble having to organize all the information.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say like, I think the onboarding process can be a little bit like, it could be a lot more. There could be a lot more steps to it. I think for the most part, I kind of try and keep it as simple as possible, because those are the clients I like. I don't want a client with like 100,000 steps I have to take in order to, onboard them. So, I tend to pick my customer base it's a personal website. It's a very, very small business, and so I'm able to just keep it very simple, like the flow for what the onboarding experience, very simple, and it works.
Yeah, we actually have a comment here from someone saying, I feel like I learned so much more walking through those initial questions, build rapport with them, upsell, and get it faster with more clarity. And I think that definitely points to the whole goal of this process, right? Or having a clear onboarding process. It's like you want it to be simple, you want it to be seamless for you and for the client, so that you can do your best work and the client can enjoy what they paid for, and what they're engaging with you for. So
yeah, definitely.
So you've finished. Okay, so you have the initial form with information. You have the client updates. You have your own, I guess, calendars and logs. What else is there to a successful client onboarding process, Whitney?
I mean, I think having those documents is great, but really I focus on making sure like they understand my process. And then again, yeah, it's communication and letting them know when they can expect something to be delivered. We kind of like went over like understanding who the points of contacts are. I think that's also important. If they're going to be communicating with anyone other than me, I have to make sure I let that be known. like at the beginning of our relationship with the client. So like if I'm going to need them to communicate with my designer, or I'm going to need them to communicate with the developer, or if vice versa, like the developer has like some questions that I feel like they may come up with in the middle of development, I always feel like it's better for me to introduce them to each other so they get comfortable, so that like the developer can feel comfortable just asking that quick question if it needs to be asked, versus me having to schedule it, because sometimes it just drags on when you're just like trying to schedule too many meetings versus just asking the question really quickly to the person that can answer it best.
Nice, nice. So do you have any other documents you could share? Any other templates? Because I'm mostly asking to move the screen over, but
you mean move the screen over?
Yeah. No, it's just don't worry about it. It's just showing me the recursive screen when you hover over it.
Okay. Yeah, are you seeing the other screen now?
No, I see your screen now. It's perfect.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's more so just letting the client know, like, okay, here are your responsibilities. I'm waiting for you to deliver something for me. And so making sure they know, again, like having a checklist that you provide the client of the things that they're responsible for. And then just being able to follow up and let them know, hey, this is in my mind something that could take a week, but if you need it to take 2 weeks because you don't have it just yet, making them aware of like right now the Otis is on you, or whatever it is that like is expected to be delivered at that particular stage. And sometimes it is like a case of like, let's say the copy, because I don't necessarily always have like someone to do the copy. I really kind of like expect the client to take care of that. But let's say, it's been a week, 2 weeks, and I've already like set aside time for them to deliver me that copy. If they haven't delivered that copy by that, by that time, or like close to that time, then I may, in between be reaching out to my network to find someone to offer that copy. And that would be the time I might upsell it out. That would be the time where I would be like, oh, for an extra fee, I could, if it's like something you're struggling with, I could actually have someone on my team create the copy. I don't necessarily upsell everything in the beginning, if that makes sense. Like I don't package everything in the beginning to offer to clients, just because like I know exactly there's a specific package that I'm specifically interested in selling to them. And especially for the type of clients that I have, there's like new startup, like new companies, like just solo entrepreneurs. I prefer to offer them something that they can afford, where they're contributing, they're providing that information. So whether it's their own graphics they've already supplied or the copy, I like to like allow them to be as much as a part of the process as possible. And then if they're like struggling in the middle of the development because they're involved, right? Then I can upskill or upsell additional services on top.
Yeah, well, also
so
having
that we stay on track.
Yeah, having an involved client definitely adds a lot of stressors, not just to you, but to their own well-being. So you partly feel responsible for putting in this process, and you want to make sure that they're happy with the process. So that's definitely a very very solid strat to keep some extra services in your pocket for when you really need them. So I actually did have a question, and if anyone has a question in the audience, please feel free to put it in the comments. But I wanted to ask you. This is a process that works for you and for your existing processes and your existing team of whether it's freelancers, colleagues, etc., people that you work with, right? This is a process that works for you. But a lot of freelancers, especially the ones starting out, that definitely want to create an onboarding process. They're probably not sure where to start because they don't know what their process looks like. What's your best advice to this profile of people who want to create a process but don't quite yet have it for onboarding clients?
Find somebody who does have a process. Like I would love to, take ownership for designing all these templates, and no, that didn't happen. Like I got to a point in my business where I was like overwhelmed, where I had to not take on clients for my own, wellness. And so I wanted to figure out a way to streamline it. And so I did like a freelancer accelerator program, and all of this was laid out for me. And so I think sometimes it's just, yeah, you have to invest in yourself and find the experts who have streamlined it. And it's just, yes, imitation is the best flattery. And yeah, if someone's doing it really well in terms of like their onboarding, then I think there's nothing wrong with going ahead and investing in yourself so that you can have a great onboarding experience for your clients. So that's what I did. That's kind of like my method to the madness. Find somebody who does it better and then just copy it. And
Nice.
so my whole
I would do it too.
yeah, so the accelerator program I did, they had it all laid out. They had a process, they had videos that that you share with your teammates so they understand the process. Like it's really, what I learned is that you just have to map it out, as if, because a lot of times we hold, as freelancers, we're trying to do everything ourselves, and we hold a lot of the information about the process in our heads. And really what you just need to do is create a folder that lays out each stage and each document that needs to go out to your customer, and make it something that if you were to bring on let's say a new teammate, they have all the information to learn your flow. They know exactly what folders to go into. They know exactly what document to send by what date. And like you can replicate yourself as long as you've laid out a very great map of your process, especially for the onboarding, when you can bring on anybody and replicate that process and know that they're on track. So I finally found the project timeline map that we were talking about. I had it in
Nice.
a folder above the client docs. So basically, yeah, this kind of like lays out like the questions I would ask and like what should be delivered by what day. And like I said, it's like a 90-day cycle for development, and that's like the expectation I set for the client. Does a project really have to take 90 days? No, it could happen a lot faster than that. But I like to set the expectation that it's going to be 90 days so that like there's a lot of cushion, every single everywhere. Okay. And so I think when the client sees this, they feel really good because they know, okay, what to expect at each stage, what's happening. And this is also used with like whoever your partners are, if you have like a VA or who's working with you, so that they also know like what the expectations are for certain things to be delivered.
I think that the lesson there is under promise and over deliver.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people might find that kind of sleazy, but it's like it doesn't matter because the client has their own plans, right? Like they have their own expectations and their own plans, and they are depending on you in most cases to deliver for their plans. But at the same time, if you promise them a 90-day plan and they plan around that and you're delivering early, then it makes the client happy and it makes you happy because it means you're not rushing yourself over to finish stuff on a scram because the client is like, I need it for tomorrow, Instead, it's like, oh, we're 10 days ahead of schedule. I'm not worried.
Exactly.
It's definitely an art form, right? That's probably one of my weakest parts as a freelancer is under promising and over delivering. So I might take a page or two out of this.
Yeah, and this is not necessarily like something that I have to share with the client. When I did my accelerator, I don't think this is like the calendar that you would necessarily share with the client, but I do, just so because I feel like it just adds an element of they know like the amount of work that you're doing, and like again, it just lays the expectations out. And so yeah, this is kind of like the method to the madness.
And then as you're delivering, you just, you have all these documents, and then as you deliver the project, all you do is just check off some boxes because all the boxes are already made for
Exactly. Exactly.
you. So,
And yeah, and I think this is like probably like this is the bread and butter. This is like what keeps me on track. And this is what makes the client, like the client doesn't have a question really. It's like, oh, okay, we're at this step. This many days in is when we can start this part of the project. So yeah.
someone in the audience asked. I'm going to put it up in the
And if you want to know the
stream.
accelerator program I did, it's 5 Digital. Can't remember his name, but 5 Digital.
5 Digital.
Yeah.
Okay. When you get
a really great accelerated program.
When you get the link, I'll be happy to put it on here. But someone asked, can you share a timeline doc?
So this is what I consider my timeline doc.
I think they meant if they had some sort of bootleg copy that they could get for themselves.
Okay. Oh, share it. Okay.
Yes. So, but I don't know if you want to I can put it in the comments if you want to share it, but no, you don't have to. But I think this is also called a Gantt chart, right?
Yes. Oh my God. So I did a Gantt chart earlier this year. I don't like them. I'll just be honest. I don't like them. I really don't. I have nothing else to say.
That's okay.
I get it though. I get it though.
To each his own. That's so waterfall, she said. But okay, so let's take a stock. Let's take a stock of your onboarding process so far, right? First, you have the onboarding sheet, which is basically the main client facts. Then you have, what else do you have? You have the brand discovery sheet, which is very similar. You also have your project timeline, which I think is probably one of the most visually stimulating documents that you have, because it puts everything in a visual frame in terms of delivery. What else? What other key documents are there?
I would say I definitely think that is the main document. Other than that, I will make a new, basically what I would do is like create a new folder where it copies everything that's in here. And then I would give the folder the name of the client, and then I would share it with the client. So the client themselves has access to everything here, everything in the client docs, right? And then the follow-up meeting, I go through the most important docs that they need to pay attention to. So they have an understanding like what the process is going to be. So then I'll go through, okay, website menu, website content doc. But because they have like the map, the timeline, this calendar, they kind of already like, they know when they're going to have to, okay, I send the email, hey, this week, can we get this document completed? And so that's kind of like more of my process, is just like making sure they have access to everything up front, and then explain this calendar, like explain the calendar. That way, like once the calendar is explained, once they see like the amount of, I would say amount of questions and documentation that I'm going to need from them, then it's more of a matter of case of saying, okay, we're at this stage. Here's the link to the document. Can you turn this in by XYZ date? And so that kind of like it's really simple. It sounds really simple because it is, but that's really the nuts and bolts of it. It doesn't get any more it doesn't really get that complicated. I think I was searching so hard trying to find this, because this is really the bread and butter. Once they see what all the different stages are, it kind of just like, it's almost a psychological thing where it alleviates them, where they feel like, okay, you have everything handled. I just need to do my part. And then you as like, almost like your project manager, because I don't even think of it as like being a freelancer that much, as more so that you're just managing this project, and you have like teams around it. Now it's just communication, letting them know, hey, we're at this stage. and XYZ is responsible for this part. And it might be them, or it might be one of one of the people that you're working with on your team.
Nice. I think that's honestly, this is like a masterclass to client onboarding, honestly, because you have the different steps, you have the different documents and everything pretty much laid out in a singular process. So now that the audience is basically equipped with Whitney Lubin's secret masterclass techniques for client onboarding, what I don't know, what would you like to say to the audience in terms of, like, now that they have the process, what do you want people to do with this new knowledge? Ooh. Oh, I think Whitney fell off. Well, let's see if we can get her back. 1 second while we take care of technical difficulties. And we're back.
Sorry, I thought I was canceling technical difficulties on my part. I thought I was ending the share. I accidentally left the studio.
It's okay. It's happens to the best of us. That command tab action is really serious. Developer things. But no, I was asking you, now that the audience basically has all of your, has like a full scope of what your client onboarding process looks like. What do you hope that they achieve now with all this new information?
I think like the real gem, which is why I was like so adamant about trying to find that file, is really the project timeline. Break down like this is extensive. Like, break down your process from beginning to testing, like all the way down to final review. And then also just like, yeah, I think a 90 days is like a good general number to stick to in terms of like delivering projects, especially in the scope of like the type of clients I take on. But like, come up with what that standard timeline is for the majority of the clients that you're going to be working with. And I think this is like a foundational type of template or kind of like calendar you want to have available, because it breaks down each step of your development for your project, and it makes it visible not only to you but to your client and to whoever you may be bringing on the team. And then like for each of these stages, again, there might be a corollary document with it, but as long as you have this part kind of like mapped out, it just makes things easier. Like, having the documents is nice, but knowing when you're going to send that document is important.
Yeah, and that's where you have the timeline, so that you know when to send a document. There's no doubt that you have to send that document.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So basically it'll just make your life a lot easier as a freelancer, as a business owner, as a client, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah. So I mean, that's basically it. I feel like a lot of it is just having conversations with your client. So and then it might be just trial and error to see like what the process is supposed to look like on a calendar basis, what makes sense with your lifestyle. I think, again, back in the day, I would have said, oh, yeah, I can get this done in a month. And then put myself under so much stress, so much anxiety, because I try to squeeze in all those things in a month.
Yeah.
No. Like, if you could see like how the tasks are broken up, it's like, yeah, I am giving myself a good amount of time to get the logo mockups. I'm giving myself a good amount of time to get the fonts. Like, there's no reason to rush it. And I think when your client sees that you're taking your time with each stage of their project, they'll appreciate that actually.
Your client will definitely appreciate you when they know that you're putting that love and attention into the project. So that's what they hired you for usually. So they'll trust, because they trust you to do that, to take care of a part of themselves, basically.
Yeah.
And having a good onboarding is gold for that.
Yeah, never rush a project. Like, that's the best thing about onboarding. It's like you're letting the client know, get acclimated to the fact that this process is set in place because you want to deliver the best experience, and it's going to take time, but it's going to be very detail oriented. So
nice. Well, I'm out of questions for you.
And I'm out of answers.
Perfect. That means I guess that means we've covered most of the entire process of the entire content of this conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to let me see? Is there anything else you'd like to add before I try to go pick up some questions here from the audience, if there are any?
No, nothing else I'd like to add. Let's go with the questions.
Actually, there are no more questions. I just double checked. That was the last one is, can you share your timeline, Doc?
So DM me and I'll see if I can. Like I said, I was part of an accelerator program, and all these templates and docs were provided to me. But I want to make sure that I'm not, overstepping my bounds by sharing, documents that they put their sweat, tears into developing. Since I do know he has like this course where you get it through.
What is the name of your accelerator again? So you can put it, you can put it in the URL.
I'll put the URL. It's 5 digit. Let me pull it up right now because
that'd be cool. But
I cannot for the life of me find the page for specifically his accelerator, but it's 5 for digital, and he's a really great guy. .com. And so if you just message him, he'll send you a link to the accelerator page.
So number 5, noun 4, fully written digital.com.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna put it over here in case people are curious. But yeah, seeing as there are no further comments, questions, or concerns, I think that we're good to end the broadcast. What do you think, Whitney?
Yes, we are good. Thanks for having me, guys.
So with that, we conclude the Wednesday of Freelance Business Week 2021. It's been an awesome day, full of great discussions, full of great workshops. Thank you very much, Whitney, for doing this and basically showing us your entire process and showing us the secret sauce to client onboarding. And hope to see you around. And everyone in the audience, thank you for coming. And please stick around for the rest of the week because we still have a lot of fantastic speakers. So thank you very much.